It's the community show. Too early to start questioning coaching hires? 4 to 5 wins is the ceiling this year for the Badgers. Is it Mabry Mettoyer time? We'll get into your comments, your thoughts, your questions next. Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? We are here for you on Locked On Badgers. I'm your host, Ryan Harris. We're here for you every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Good or bad, we are here to build the community, to talk Badgers, to have your thoughts and your insight into it. And I appreciate y'all so much. However you're listening, audio, YouTube, whatever it is, thank you. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. And this is a community show. So this is the show. We just take your comments, your thoughts, your questions, your frustrations off Twitter, YouTube, Discord, whatever it is, and we chop it up. So it's a great way to get the pulse of the community into the show. I'm going to put the comments up here, and we're just going to read them. The first one we're going to get into is from Winning Gambler. He said, the program has a ways to go, which we all knew watching the first couple games. The lines are the biggest issue. It didn't help losing our quarterback in the opening drive, which showed the final score, which skewed the final score a little bit, but 4-8 is our best hope. He said maybe 4-8 is our best hope. Two things here. I don't think 4-8 is maybe our best hope. And I love Winning Gambler. He's a good, he's always throws good content up there. I don't think 4-8 is our best hope. Again, people don't want to hear this, and I could be dead wrong, and I could get skewered on it. I am very confident Bama is quite a bit better than just about anybody else we play in the schedule. And a lot went wrong in this game. Part of it is talent-based. Part of it is Wisconsin shot themselves in the foot. Maybe they'll keep shooting themselves in the foot. The injury to TVD obviously hurts. Bam, I would hesitate, and I would throw this caution out there. I would hesitate taking too much from the Bama game, right? Don't not react to it. I always say react, but don't overreact. And that's that line, I certainly don't always thread that needle perfectly, but Bama's really friggin' good. So I don't think 4-8 is maybe our best hope. I think we're still going to be better than that. And I also disagree a little bit with Winning Gambler. I don't think our offensive line is an issue. I think the defense line's an issue. I think quarterback's an issue. Some offensive play calling, I think, is an issue. I thought our offensive line overall played pretty well today, actually. I thought the running game did well. I thought pass protection held up outside of a few things. Like, you're playing Bama. You're not going to stonewall them every play. I actually thought pass protection was relatively strong. Yeah, I don't think our offensive line is the biggest issue. All right, next comment here. This is from CJ Abbott. I feel so bad for TVD. My heart dropped watching him get upset, getting carted off. Yeah, that's a real one there, because it's so easy to forget about the human emotions into this, the hours people put into it. And you're seeing the heartbreak on a national scale. Like, you're seeing the heartbreak underneath the lights of 80,000 people in the stadium and 1 million people watching on TV and 250,000 people reacting on Twitter. That sucks. And yeah, my heart breaks for TVD as well. That's horrible. That's horrible. And it sounds like it's probably an ACL. We're awaiting confirmation. Potentially could be a redshirt guy. It just stinks, though. I'm 100% with you there, CJ Abbott. Next comment here from Justin. He said, I predicted 56-10, so I wasn't far off. Unlike you guys, I have not drank the Fickell Kool-Aid. Just seems like Don Morton all over again. Whew. Yeah, listen, I always try to own my stuff. I've been pretty high on the Fickell hire. I remain pretty high on the Fickell hire. Maybe I'll be wrong on that. I don't think I will be, to be honest. But if you were critical of Luke Fickell, if you didn't like the move to hire him, you can certainly point to the first year and a couple games and say, up to this point, it hasn't looked great. And I think that's fair. I think up to this point, it hasn't. I think you have to give new coaches coming in more than a couple years. I just think you have to. You have to allow them to build some culture. You have to allow them to get their guys in the program. A lot of the upperclassmen are still Chris guys. And I don't put it all on Chris. Like, this is Fickell's ship. Like, this is on him. But I'm not ready to throw that out after a year and a couple games. I'm just not. So it seems like Don Morton all over again. That's depressing. You know what it is to me? It's depressing just to read that is the undercurrent of Badger fans, that thought is even being spoken into the Badger ecosystem, that it feels like Don Morton. The fact that that's even being talked about and even expressed in some way is pretty depressing. And I'm not saying you're wrong or right. I'm not there yet, but it has not gone as smoothly as we had hoped. I think that's incredibly obvious. This is from Football Club. He said, Fickell and company have had 2 full recruiting cycles, 2 winter transfer portal cycles, 2 spring transfer portal cycles. He should be getting a lot of the blame. That's fair. I don't really push back on that. And there's a couple of questions on this, right? Where does the blame lie necessarily? Is it on Chris? Is it on Fickell? I think we live in a society where we're so desperate to find it's all your fault, and that's a political thing. I think that's just a whatever a thing we're in right now, where we are desperate to pin everything on one thing or the other. So the side that we support is maybe completely absolved of any blame. I don't think it's that. I think there's blame on Paul Christ. I also think there's blame on Luke Fickell. Where that exact line of demarcation lies is going to be dependent on everybody's individual perspective. But yeah, Paul Christ left not the greatest roster. He did not leave an infrastructure that was fully built up. He was on the way out getting beaten down by Ohio State and Illinois. Like, look at where that program is when he walked out the door. It shouldn't have been an expectation to turn around right away. And we did kind of expect that, which is on us. It's on me, right? That was an unfair expectation to turn around right away. When you look at what it was, that ship was leaking. Oil was coming out of the boilers. Like, it was taking on water on the port side. The funnels were falling over. Like, that ship was leaking. It's going to take a while to rebuild it. However, we live in the transfer portal era. It's easier now to turn things around. You got to hit on a quarterback. All the quarterbacks on this roster outside of LaCrue, who was originally a Paul Christ guy, are Luke Fickell, Phil Longo guys. Like, so there's absolutely blame to me. Again, we always say fan how you want to fan. There's absolutely blame to be on both sides of this. This is still a lot of Paul Christ guys on this roster. Luke Fickell doesn't have a roster full of his own guys, but listen, he's the guy that hired Phil Longo. That offense isn't clicking, right? So I think there's blame on both sides, and I might kind of split it right down the middle at this point. But I would also say this: ultimately, it's on Fickell. Like, I'm not going to sit up here and keep blaming Paul Christ. Luke Fickell's the guy in charge, and he's the one that has to bear the criticism. You know, heavy is the head that wears the crown at this point. He's the head coach of University of Wisconsin. So, yeah, I think there's blame on both sides, but it's up to Luke Fickell to fix it. Next comment here. This is the other side of the argument from the comment we just had. This is from Structured. Some of these came in really small, so it's hard to read them. But this is from Structure. He said, you can't blame Fickell for this. Chris drove the recruiting into the ground. There's mid-Big Ten talent on this roster. Yeah, year 4 or 5, when we have multiple classes come in, that's where it's got to happen, or it's time to fire Fickell. This is the exact same point I'd make previously. I don't think it's all on Chris either, right? This comment here is just saying you can't blame Fickell for this. Chris drove it into the ground. Fickell's been here enough time that you should expect a little better than this as well, right? You shouldn't expect to get in year 2 of Luke Fickell getting blown out 42-10 at home. That's an inexcusable performance. That's not good enough. And Bama's great. We shouldn't look like an FCS team. So, I think there's blame on both sides. And I also, like I said at the beginning, I'm not done with the Fickell. I still believe that's the right hire. I still think it's going to take a little longer, we hope, but I think Fickell is doing a lot of the things behind the scenes that are correct. I'm not out on it. If you are, that's cool. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to fan. I'm not out on it. I'm just not. This is from Hurley. He said, this is interesting. He's like, I like whiskey. I do. Well documented. I'm also pulling for these wounded Badgers. Still playoff potential. Still fighting. Oh, man. You ran into the lumber saw. No shame there. Some good things. The long season. Y'all pick it up and keep fighting. It's all you can do. That feels like the moralist, victorious comment ever. Thank you. We will pick it up and keep fighting. I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Akefo says, I was almost right. I predicted 49-10. However, the score didn't reflect what could have been. Stupid mistakes killed the Badgers. Fumbles, missed long balls, missed field goal, stop on 4th and 1, all led to a sad result. Yeah, man, that last sentence is dead on, man. That was a sad result. That second half, it just felt like, can this game just get over? Like, it was like an inexorable lava flow just coming to your home, and you know it's coming. And you just can't stop it. It's taking forever. It's like, just put me out of my misery, man. It was just a bad game. And he's dead right. Akefo's dead right. For all we want to talk about the speed advantage that Bama has, the talent advantage Bama has, there's a lot of silliness on Wisconsin's side. You got to clean up. Like, sure, maybe that guy over there has a better truck and he has better tools. But, like, if you're just making silly mistakes, I don't want to hear it. Make the field goal. Hold on to the ball. convert on 4th and 1. There's a lot of silliness I thought from the Badgers that it just needs to get better. And some of that has nothing to do with the talent disparity that Bama has. That has to do with cleaning up things that some veterans on this team, quite frankly, mistakes that they shouldn't be being made. All right, we're going to get into a bunch more of this coming up on Locked On Badgers. This is the community show, as always. Your thoughts, your questions, your frustrations, all of that and more. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at eBay Motors. eBay Motors is incredible, right? You want to keep your ride or die alive. You got to keep your ride or die alive. That thing gets you everywhere. It gets you to Dave & Buster's. It gets you to Adventureland. It gets you to Ice Cream Planet. It gets you to all the places that you want to go and spend your money and your time at. It gets you to Camp Randall. It gets you to the Kohl Center. Take care of it. Right? Go to eBay Motors. Get it some new tires. Get it a new carburetor. Maybe spark up the spark plugs. You can do all that over at eBay Motors. It's the right parts, the right fit, the right prices. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Keep your ride or die alive at the place that has the most parts, the biggest inventory, the best prices, the most convenient shopping experience. You don't even need to leave the home. Why would you do anything else? Why make it harder on yourself and more expensive? Stop it. Stop it right now. Go to eBay Motors. Right parts, right fit, right prices. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Exclusions do apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by our great friends over at LinkedIn. I've used this story before when I was moving on from a previous company a couple companies ago. They brought somebody in to replace me or to take over for me because I was leaving. I had gotten kind of a promotion somewhere else. And this guy came in and started talking about killing his wife. He's like, I can't wait to put her in the ground. This is on his job interview. And a coworker overheard this and went to my boss, my former boss, like, you can't hire that guy. He's a psycho. He's going to kill us all. So, I mean, they didn't use LinkedIn on this guy. That's the thing. If you don't use LinkedIn, you might get the axe murderer. You might get the guy coming in that wants to kill his significant other and his spouse. If you use LinkedIn, you don't get that. You don't get the killers. You get the workers. You get the grinders. You get the 5-star receptionist, the 5-star oil change guy, right? That's what you get if you go over to LinkedIn. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. You're going to find the biggest and best professional network of 5-star employees over at LinkedIn. Right now, LinkedIn helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, let's get into the rest of this painful stuff, man. Because again, this is not what anybody wanted, right? This is a game we had circled on our calendar for a long time, and it just, right? Like, it's like going to a great restaurant, man. You made reservations months in advance. Your significant other's there. You order the best thing on the menu. You haven't eaten all day, and the steak is coming out. And instead of what you ordered, it's like, we didn't have this, so it's a Big Mac. We got you a Big Mac instead. And it was like so much anticipation for this game, and nothing worked, man. Mark Coleman says, he said, talk about this for what it is. Quit with the fluff, awful reporting. So I guess kind of a shot at me for the fluff, awful reporting. Yeah, listen, I can 100% own that. I think there are times people want me to come on here and yell and scream and be more negative. Truthfully, it's not who I am. It's not. And I'll be honest. I'll be completely honest with everybody. Doing this show has actually made me a little more negative, right? Because I think I feel all the negativity at times. I get DMs. Sometimes I feel pressure to be more negative, and it's just not who I am. Like, this game sucked. I also think it's a bit of a one-off. I think this team's not as good as we hoped, but Bama's really good, and we lost our starting quarterback on the first drive, and all that stuff kind of came together, and we got whitewashed. We got murdered at home. I don't know if that means the rest of the year is going to go into the abyss. I just don't. I don't know if that means the wheels are going to come off. And if that means it's quote unquote fluff, awful reporting, man, maybe it is. Again, I'm not going to tell you got to think like me, and I don't want to have to think like you or anything else. I think all the perspectives are welcome. I think this team still has the talent to win several Big Ten games this year. And I would like to see what Locke looks like with the bye week going into USC. And that's where I'm at. I don't think we beat USC. I didn't think we beat USC before the year. I had Bama and USC both marked down as losses for what it's worth. So from a win-loss record standpoint, I'm right on track. I did think we would look cleaner, though. Ain't no doubt about that. This is from Richard, Tennessee fan here. Don't worry, we will get them for you. Awesome. Thanks, Richard. Are we the sisters of the poor now? Like, other SEC teams are coming to our defense and being like, hey, I know you guys were terrible. That's okay. It's okay, Wisconsin. Here's a lollipop. We'll get Bama next week or later for you. It'll be all right. Like, bro, I appreciate I appreciate the sentiment. I do. I don't need it from a Tennessee fan. I have your quarterback though in my fantasy league, so that's nice. Charlie says 4 wins at best. What a disaster. Charlie _ICU. That man might be in the ICU. I hope not. I don't think so. I don't think 4 wins at best. I don't. I don't. Again, maybe I'm wrong. I be hesitant reading too much into one game against Bama, a Bama team that's really good, where we lost our starting quarterback in the first quarter. Yeah, I would just be hesitant reading too much into that. I still think this team can beat several of the Big Ten teams on the schedule. Purdue has looked terrible today against Notre Dame. I don't think like they can win that game. They've already got 2 wins. I think this team can still win 5, 6, 7 games, which isn't great, by the way. Saying that out loud, I already know people are going to say, "Oh, wow, you 5, 6, 7 wins. That's amazing." I mean, no, that's not the standard. That's not what it should be. But I also don't think it's a 4-win or best season. Badger Bill, Longo isn't good, but he isn't calling fumbles. That's a great point. A lot of criticism on socials right now with Phil Longo. I don't think the offense he's running makes a ton of sense right now. It doesn't feel smooth. It doesn't feel like there's a vision. I feel like we're struggling to get our playmakers the ball. Like there's some playmakers on this team. I think Vinny could use more catches. He's pretty fast and explosive. Tretch we talked about. That being said, he's not the one fumbling, right? That was a nice run by Ches Malusi to get us out of the shadow of our goalpost, and then Ches coughs it up. Cade Yakinelli coughs it up. Ches coughed it up last week. Like, stop fumbling the ball. That's not on Longo, right? It's not on Coach Spalding. And at least not for veteran running backs. Not for a veteran running back like Cade or Ches. That's on them. They know better. They know you got to wrap up the ball. They know ball security is paramount. It's a combination again. We talked about it. It's the same thing I would say with Christ and Fickell and where the blame is. It's on both and on equal. Like it's on both, right? The offensive woes are on a lot of things. They're on the ball security. They're on the running backs. They're on the quarterbacks. They're on the receivers. They're on Phil Longo. All of it plays a part, and all of it needs to get a little better. So yeah, it's a good point by Badger Bill. This is one's from Bertus Maximus off our Discord. He said, "Whole offensive role players." I was thinking about this. This is an interesting comment. Because who are the difference makers on offense when you really think about it? You look at the difference makers on Bama, man, and you're like, wow, there's 3 or 4 of them, right? I like both their running backs. Jam's a stud. Ryan Williams is a stud. By the way, Milroe's a stud. And they have other receivers, and you start rattling off 4 or 5 or 6, and you're like, wow, who's the difference maker on offense? Like, who's the guy? I think Will Pauling is. And you saw a pretty good Will Pauling game today. Is that it? It's hard to win games if you have one difference maker on offense. We thought Tretch could be that guy. It hasn't materialized. Bryson Green's a good receiver. I wouldn't call him a difference maker. Ty Wee has been a solid running back. I expected more based on what we saw in fall. The quarterback hasn't been a difference maker in several years at Wisconsin. It's not just this year. It might just be Pauling. That's not enough. Bertus has a point there. Next one off our Discord. This is from Nick. He said, so to be honest, the speed difference is sort of overblown. We have plenty of speed on defense, but I'd expect the corners to play better against unproven receivers, except Williams. Milroe is faster than every defense in the country. Our run defense is mainly size issues, not speed issues. If anything, it's too much speed. I don't think you can ever have too much speed on defense, Nick. I get your point, though. I don't think today's issue was mostly speed. I agree with that. I think there's enough speed on this defense. I think the linebackers are fast. I think it's a defensive line issue, and everything kind of stems off that. I think it is really hard to play rush defense because of that. You're getting a little antsy in the secondary, bringing people in the box. You have to do a better job in the secondary, though, when you know Bama was going to pass, right? In that situation before the second half, when Bama needed 2 plays to go 70 yards in like 17 seconds. Oh, boy, man, that is a bad look for the secondary. You got to be able to be better. I don't know how else to phrase that up. Like I feel like I'm being Captain Obvious. You cannot let that happen in the secondary. And I think some of that might be a little speed driven. So I agree with you. I think the speed difference is overblown. I still think we could use another burner or 2. I think the primary issue on defense is what we've talked about all year, though. I think it's lack of impact, talent, and depth on the defensive line. I think that's the biggest issue. And it's not going to get solved this year, which I don't know if anybody expects it to, but it's not. K. Rudolph says, fumbles kill drives. Badgers could run against the tie, but fumbles force the game around. I want to put this one up here because Rudolph hits on the Badgers did run the ball pretty decently, even after they lost their quarterback and Bama was kind of loading up. Now, I wish they would have taken a couple more shots with Locke. I wish they would have used play action a little bit. because Bama was loading up. But Tywee, Cade, Ches, they all kind of effectively ran pretty decently. A lot of that off the left side with Nelson and Brunner. That's something to build on, straight up. No hyperbole. That's something to build on. Do that against USC. I don't know if USC can hold up against the run. If we just say we're going to shorten, and this might be where it starts to get a little ugly to watch, right? This might devolve a little bit into Christian ball, where we just say more of the same. We had a 17-play drive against Bama for a touchdown. It might be more of the same of that this year. And it might be more of a win ugly, survive and advance type of attack, which isn't good enough, but it might be necessary enough this year. And that might be how you have to play it this year, especially if the news on TVD is confirmed. This one is from Pasta Boy. Are we slipping into the Morton years? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. Not to that level. There's too much commitment at Wisconsin. Mac has too much of commitment to winning. There's a new practice facility coming. The recruiting classes have been getting better. It's not getting to that point. However, can it be elevated to where Wisconsin is kind of in that upper second tier of the Big Ten? And right now, that's looking like the challenge. It's not going to get to Morton years because those were horrific. I don't think we're on that path, but it hasn't. Again, I said it before. The fact that it's being spoken and that thought is getting put into the ecosystem is reflective of the performances the Badgers have had this season. So, but I don't think so. All right, one more quick break for our friends of the show. Again, bunch more comments coming up. I love doing the show because we really get the community involved, and it's what helps make this channel kind of unique. So I really do appreciate everyone. As always, one more quick break for our friends of the show. And a quick second to say thank you to everybody tuning in. Today's episode is brought to you by our great friends over at Factor Meals. Factor Meals is the best if you just need a little bit of help in the kitchen, right? If you need a little bit of help figuring out what to eat, or figuring out how to get food, even because I'm not a hunter-gatherer unless I'm hunting and gathering it from my fridge, and they have to be ready-made things because that's the only thing I'm gathering, because otherwise I'm kind of useless. Factor Meal is here for people like me, people like not just like me, like people who are busy, people who don't want to prep, people who don't have time to go cooking and shopping. Head over to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50. You're going to use code LOCKEDONCollege50 to get 50% off your first order and 20% off your next month. There's over 35 different meals and 60 different add-ons to choose from. So you're getting a bunch of different stuff that's all delicious, easy to make. Pop it in, ready to go. Great ingredients and healthy if you want to be a little healthier as well. It's factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50. All right, let's finish off our community show. Again, always super appreciative of everybody that puts comments up. Super appreciative of everyone who interacts with the show and sends me messages. Y'all are amazing. Really, really do appreciate it. All right, this one is from Jimmy Badger. It's criminal that you have tough, fast, twitchy guys like Pauling, Trent, and Anthony and never get them the ball in space. I don't get it. Your 16-point dogs pull out the stops. Yes. That's from the Discord. I agree with this one, man. Like, why have a guy like Tretch if you can't get him the ball, or if you don't find ways to get him the ball? I don't get it. And I think Vinny has speed. We saw what a catch by Vinny along the sideline, by the way, reacting to a tip ball and taking the hit and holding on. Bro, you got to get these guys more opportunities. And it's not that they're not trying. They definitely had Tretch out on routes and they were trying a few different things, but throw a receiver screen to him then. I'm sorry, man. Like, get him the ball. You have to get these guys more opportunities, and maybe the scheme is too complex right now. Maybe you got to make it easier, and that's okay. Like, as a coach, that's your job. Now, I'm not saying Longo's not doing his job or it's all on him, but ultimately the offense maybe has to be a little simplified, right? Maybe I don't know. I agree with this comment though. You got weapons, you got bullets in the gun. You got to find a way to fire them. And it feels like we're not fully doing that yet. So we had that comment up already. Benson says, every time they show the Lee Evans deep catch against Ohio State in the pregame video, it makes me wonder when the Badgers will ever complete a pass over the top again. Yeah, it's been a minute. Once again, not really any deep shots completed this game, right? What's the biggest hit play we had in this game? Was it? I mean, they took a couple. They could have had Pauling in the back corner. That pass was overthrown. There was an opportunity to hit Tretch. That was overthrown. They got a pass interference on a Bryson Green throw, but even that ball wasn't really well thrown. It's an issue for this team. They've had issues completing that deep shot. This is from Bayon Hicks, former Badger cornerback. 4th and 1, and we go gun. He says, man, put that quarterback under center and use them big boys from Wisconsin to get the first. Yeah, listen, I'm here. I'm here with you on this one, Fayon. Oh, man. I despise our short yardage packages right now. And again, I don't fully get it. It's almost like guys who believe in one concept of offense, there's some type of hard, fast rule that they don't want to use any elements from any other offense. Like, it's okay to be air raid 95% of the time, and then on 4th and 1, just go under center, put Riley Nowakowski, who's a former fullback, back there, and put Tyree Walker behind him and just say, we're going to get this first down and quarterback sneak. Or, like, I think we make it too complicated, man. And last year we were really bad on 4th down. It'd be one thing if we were going shotgun and running it inside zone on 4th and 1 and it was working. It hasn't been working. This one is frustrating to me. And I'm not a coach. I know Coach Anderson would disagree with me, but it's ultimately, if it's not working, I don't care if it schematically makes sense. It's not working. Right? Like, isn't that what matters? And again, today, in a huge moment, it didn't work. Now, it did work later in the game. I give it credit, but you got to hit more than 50% of those opportunities. You have to. And Wisconsin was at like 25% conversion rate on 4th down last year. I'm here. I'm with you on that one. Mark says good teams run bad teams out of the stadium. Alabama did that today. The Badgers couldn't do that last 2 weeks. Yeah, that's a very good point. Bama treated us like a bad team today. This is what good teams do to bad teams. And at least today, we weren't a very good team. Riley says Wisconsin looks like a team without a plan. Way too many mistakes. Defense cannot give up big plays. There were, later as the game went on, man, some of those big plays, that tight end seam route, that corner route, they gave up some gashers. Some of that's Bama's really good. Some of that is we hope the secondary would hold up a little better. And it's fair to point out that it didn't, right? It's fair to point out that this was a game we needed the secondary to really play really, really well. And Delancey gave up the touchdown to Williams. We gave up another touchdown on a post corner. We gave up that touchdown on that seam route. They didn't play well enough, right? They just did not play well enough. Randall Cole says, hard to believe Locke and Van Dyke were in a heated quarterback competition. He also said, for those who say a couple plays go differently, that's getting old. I agree. Like, excuses are getting old. And if there's one thing I would say, it feels like some of the excitement, a lot of people are starting to really question, right? For that first year, I think everyone was still on board, and now you're starting to get into year 2. And I don't think it's time to talk Luke Fickell and coaching and job security. I don't. You do not hire a guy with a lot of pedigree and give up in a year. You don't. That's how you do become Nebraska, is you keep cycling through coaches. You have to hire a guy, believe in him, and then give him 3, 4, 5 years to build, period. You have to. Barring some type of off-field craziness, like several years ago, I forget the guy's name, Pitt hired a guy. He went through a drive-through naked and drunk. Roger that. Pink slip him. Right? But barring some type of off-field craziness, no, absolutely not. It's not even on my radar. And if it is for other people, again, that's cool. Like, I never tell anyone how to think. But I would greatly disagree. You have to give a good coach. And I do think Luke Fickell's a good coach. You have to give him time to build his program, his culture, because otherwise you are going to reset culture again. You're going to be upset in 2 years when it's not working again. You're going to have to reset recruiting again. And then you're going to be in the same boat again. Like, good or bad, you have to ride with Fickell for at least enough time to know for sure. You have to, period. I don't think it's anywhere at that point yet. Now, coordinators, maybe. Coordinators are different topic. And if it's not working after year 2, I think that's a better discussion to have. Ryan Pohl says, my bring back Leonard chant surprisingly received little support, although I was mostly surrounded by Bama fans. It's too early. Unless you're saying bring him back as a DC, which I don't think he would do. Maybe he would. I don't know. I haven't thought about that a ton, to be honest. But it's too early. Again, I just said it. It's too early to make a move on the head coach. And I think it would be a huge mistake. I really do. Wisco Nation says, bummed that Van Dyke got hurt. Game could have gone differently. I strongly believe in Fickell, but I have lost faith in the coordinators. And that's a very fair post. I do think the game script would have looked a little different with Van Dyke. Would we have beaten them? No. Not the way Bama was playing. You needed Bama to play poorly, and they came in locked in, period. So we talked about that before the show. For Wisconsin to have a chance, Bama would have to be playing bad. They didn't play bad. They didn't. So even if you had a great TVD performance, the game is probably like 42-20. It's still 42-23, something like that. But I agree with him. Like, strongly believe in Fickell, but maybe losing faith in coordinators. I think it's a very fair place to be. Craig Smith says, oddly enough, I am more encouraged after today than the first two. The offense showed the ability to run the ball against an SEC defense. Locke had some nice throws. The defense did decent. Let's go, Craig. Let's get some optimism in here. He makes a good point on a couple of these. The defense early on, I thought, gave the team an opportunity to stay in the game if the offense was willing to pick up their side of the yoke, and they just weren't. But there were a couple third down stops. They held them to a field goal, which Bama missed, and they were put in a bad spot twice by turnovers. So I actually thought the defense it bent, it broke a couple times, but I thought it was okay. The offense just couldn't get it going. Here's a good point, though. They were able to run the ball, and I think that's something that they're going to lean on going forward. Zach says, my thoughts are what are the fans supposed to look forward to? I get it takes time. I'm not saying fire everyone, but what is the goal? What is the long-term plan? Why should I keep buying tickets? See, this is the dangerous thing. You're starting to see a little malaise kind of creep in, right? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I supporting? And you got to be careful, because if that goes on too long, you start to lose some funding. You start to lose some NIL momentum. People start to question whether this works. And then when that starts happening, it gets harder to recruit. It gets harder to keep building. This is a really important, these next couple games, USC playing well. I don't think we beat USC, but I said that before the year. That hasn't changed for me. USC, but play well. Like, go out there and show that this is not a 42-10 Badger team, right? Go out there, play well, and then come back and beat Purdue. This is a really important couple game stretch for the Badgers, for Fickell, for this program right now. This is a huge stretch. Huge stretch. Gary Brolowski said Van Dyke is a lot better than Locke. Front seven on defense is really bad without Thompson. I do think Van Dyke is better than Locke. You saw it, like he had already used his legs a couple times in this game. Like, it's a better offense with Locke. With Van Dyke. That's why he won the job. In development, I'm going to end on this one. He said, I think we all expected to be 2-1 at this point. So, right on track. I think yes, except I think we expected it to look cleaner. Again, I want to be intellectually honest. I thought the first two games we would look better, and I thought this game, my goal coming into this year was, I expect us to lose to Bama. I expect us to lose to Oregon. I expect us to lose to USC. I did pick us to beat Penn State, but in all of those games, my goal was, can we look competitive? Can we look like we, at least for a bit of the game, some of the game, a duration of the game, can it look like we belong somewhat on a field with these teams? 0-1 in the Bama, right? We did not check that box against Bama. We did not look like we belonged, period. So, yeah, I hear you. 2-1 is what we expected. But if I'm being honest, this isn't the way I expected our 2-1 to look. And I think you got to be fair with yourself and be honest. And at least I do with me. Now, another opportunity next week. Well, in 2 weeks, right? Next week we have a bye. Great time for a bye. And then you'll play USC. Can you compete, right? Can you look like you clean some stuff up? And again, I lean optimist. Like, that is my kind of natural makeup internally. So I'm hoping that you get a better performance there. This has been the community show. Really appreciate every single person for all these comments, all the interaction. Y'all are amazing on Wisconsin. Yeah, tough one, but let's move on, see if we can get better.